Ever wondered how the Statue of Liberty in America was actually built? Today, we're going to explore the history of its construction together. Where did the idea come from? Who was its creator? And we'll cover all the other key facts you should know about this iconic statue. I won't take up any more of your time, so without further ado, let's get straight to the video. First, we need to understand where the idea for the Statue of Liberty actually came from. The idea was proposed by Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi, a French sculptor who strongly supported the ideals of freedom and enlightenment. He would later gain worldwide recognition for designing the Statue of Liberty. But you may be wondering, what connection did a French artist have with the United States? At the time, the United States had become a symbol of liberty and democracy. The abolition of slavery and the country's recovery after the Civil War inspired many French intellectuals. As a result, a monument was proposed that would not only celebrate freedom but also strengthen the friendship between France and the United States. However, just as Bartholdi was preparing to begin the project, the Franco-Prussian War broke out, forcing the plans to be delayed. In June 1871, Bartholdi traveled to the United States carrying a letter of introduction from Édouard de La Boulaye, one of the project's strongest supporters. After arriving in New York, he selected Bedloe's Island, now known as Liberty Island, as the perfect location for the monument. This decision meant that every passenger arriving in New York Harbor by ship would see the statue before anything else. The President of the United States at the time, Ulysses S. Grant, warned Bartholdi that preparing the island for such a massive structure would be both costly and time-consuming. Over the following years, the cost of building the statue itself was funded by the people of France, while Americans were responsible for constructing the pedestal. During the early stages of construction, the statue's head and the torch-bearing arm were completed before the rest of the monument. Unfortunately, funding soon ran short. To raise additional money, these completed sections were displayed publicly, attracting visitors and encouraging donations. The fundraising campaign continued for several years, and even miniature versions of the statue were sold to help finance the project. One fascinating fact is that the statue's outer skin is made of copper sheets. Much of the funding for the copper came from public donations in France, supported by nationwide fundraising campaigns. The copper covering is only about 2.4 mm thick. Now let's take a look at the engineers who helped bring this incredible monument to life. The original structural design was developed by Eugene Viollet-le-Duc. However, after his death, the project faced significant uncertainty. Bartholdi then turned to a young and innovative French engineer named Gustave Eiffel. At that time, Eiffel was not yet famous, as the Eiffel Tower had not been built. He redesigned the internal framework, replacing the original concept with a strong iron structure capable of withstanding New York's powerful winds. On July 4, 1884, the completed statue was officially presented to the American ambassador in France. It was then prepared for transportation across the Atlantic Ocean, while construction of the pedestal continued in New York. Transporting the Statue of Liberty from Paris to New York was no easy task. The monument had to be dismantled into hundreds of individual pieces and packed into large crates for shipment. Once the pieces arrived in America, workers began the complex process of reassembling the statue on its pedestal. Bartholdi originally hoped that the torch would function as a giant lighthouse, illuminating the harbor at night. However, this idea was ultimately abandoned. Years later, the torch was covered with gold leaf to enhance its appearance and brilliance. Finally, in 1886, the Statue of Liberty was officially unveiled to the world. Today, the Statue of Liberty is far more than just a monument. It has become one of the most recognizable symbols of freedom, immigration, hope, and democracy anywhere on Earth.